Welcome back, artists. I'm Wyatt Paints, and yeah, still no regular intro. My new phone should be here for the next video, but I didn't want that to hold me back from getting this video out in time for Halloween. A friend of mine ordered a latex mask for our costume, but needed it painted. And being the starving artist that I am, I agreed to paint it for the exorbitant fee of a street taco dinner. And since it's so different from what I normally paint, I figured it would make an informative video just as the haunting season is upon us. So, meet me over at the painting booth. I'm gonna grab my brushes. Let's get started. Taking a look at the mask, it's raw latex colored and extremely floppy. I could pin it down to make it a bit more stable, but then I'd run the risk of painting it to the head form, which could end up damaging it when trying to remove it. Plus, with only 2 pins, there are fewer holes punched into the mask. As a bit of a bonus, I was supplied with this picture reference to aim for. While it doesn't have to be an exact match, it does give me a general idea where I need this to finish. To prep for painting, I thoroughly clean the surface with warm water and dish soap, followed by a wipe down of 99% IPA. This ensures that all release agents are gone. Before I can get started though, I need to mix up some latex paint, which is easy enough, mixing my acrylic paint with liquid latex at about a 50-50 mix. In this case, leopard stone skin. Using latex will not only help bond the paint to the mask, but it will also give the paint job the flexibility it needs. Otherwise, when worn, the dry acrylic paint will start cracking and chipping off. With the addition of the latex, it's going to be able to stretch and flex along with the rest of the mask. During the mixing, you'll notice that the liquid latex is super thick, so you're going to want to thin this down considerably before using it. For my job, I just used a bit of water, but I have heard of people using a water ammonia mix to do it as well. It's just not something I keep on hand. Once properly thinned, I gave the mask a base coat. You really want to stretch the paint as far as it can go here so you can get color everywhere, but don't fill in that fine skin texture. As I'm painting, I'm looking for any spots on the surface where the texture seems to smooth out. This is a sign I have too much paint there and need to go over it to brush it out of the pores. Thankfully, the latex has a very long dry time, so I have plenty of time to go and double check my work. Maintaining the texture is going to be way more important than getting an opaque coat, because it can always come back for a second. You just need to give it ample time to completely dry so that it's not sticky to the touch. If you don't give it that time, you risk ripping up the first layer and altering the mask with unintended lumps and bumps. And seeing as the blank mask cost my friend about $60, it's better to err on the side of caution. And here are a couple pro tips I think you should keep in mind. 1. Be on the lookout for any bubbles left in the paint on the face. Because this is latex paint, it can easily cure with that bubble intact, and you'll be stuck with bubbles filling in all your details. So keep an eye out for them, as they like to hide in the deeper folds. And second tip, be sure to use an expendable brush. Latex is very gummy when it dries, so if you're not extra judicious cleaning your brush, it will be ruined. While regular rinsing seemed to keep my brush from this fate, a day later when it finally dried up, my brush wasn't really brushing anymore. Perhaps a bit of ammonia mixed into the cleaning fluid would have prevented that. But thankfully, I used a makeup brush that cost me about 50 cents, so it wasn't a big loss. When my first layer skin toned down, I mixed up some Brigadine Brown with latex to block out that little forehead mole. I'll need to refine this in later steps, but I found it helpful to block it out early so I didn't forget it. I let it dry for about 2 hours to completely set, and then came back to give it a second coat to get a fully opaque tone. Again, extra care is needed to ensure that none of the pores get filled in and no bubbles are left on the surface. Now I want to add some veins, and I'm going to be using this slightly pale electric blue that's been thinned down to a wash to increase the translucency of the paint. Also, I didn't bother mixing any latex because it won't be needed. Using a detail brush, I drew some veins across some areas like the brow, cheeks, and nose. These really don't need to be anatomically correct. As long as you aren't making spirals or any silly shapes, it should be fine. As you can see, I just used vaguely lightning bolt patterns and connected them here and there. And finally, it's not a big deal if some of the veins are a little bit darker than others. The variation will be barely noticeable after the next step. So when it looks good, give it a break to dry. With the veins dry, it's time to bury those veins with a third thinned down coat of the skin tone. This is going to knock down some of the darker veins to look more natural and give the impression that they're all under a little bit of skin and not just painted on top of it. Plus, the latex mixed into the skin will protect the veins from the alcohol ink that I'm going to be using next. Sort of a 3 birds, 1 stone situation. And once again, the mold got some attention. I don't want to lose that little guy. While that dried, it's time to start thinking about shading. My friend gave me this grease paint that he's planning on using to try to match it so that it's easier to blend. And this crimson alcohol ink seems to be about perfect. For this step, I'm going to be using my airbrush. And since I'm going to be blowing an alcohol paint, mask on for safety. I'm also going to need a paper towel soaked in 99 proof IPA. My aim in this step is to do heavy applications in all of the majorly creased areas, like the nose, eyes, and brows, almost to the point of flooding the mask with ink. Then, before it has time to dry, I'm going to do a technique called rubbing. This is where you rub down the mask very gently with alcohol. Because this is an alcohol ink, it will quickly rub the ink off the raised surfaces while leaving the heavy coverage in the creases. And because I mixed latex into the base skin, it's not going to react to the IPA, keeping the look of my veins nice and safe. What's needed here is to take the time and blend out the thinning as evenly as possible, while also not leaving excess IPA on the surface. Otherwise, you get weird coffee staining. With the ink being alcohol based, it didn't take long for it to dry, leaving me with well shaded wrinkles and creases, albeit with a overall rough looking face. My next step is to feather out those shades by going over them with my airbrush to soften them a touch. This will make it easier to blend back with the skin tone. Once those shadows were reinforced, I needed to highlight all of the key facial features using my base skin tone. If you look closely, you can still make out a lot of the faint veins that I put in earlier. Trust that in person, they're a bit more noticeable. As a fun bonus, I wanted to make sure my friend could have options with his mask, so I blacked out the horn sockets, just in case he wanted to go hornless. Or even as a gag, he could rip off his horns mid-party, as they're just going to be pressure fit in place. It's not really extra work for me to paint a couple of black circles, and if the result is elevating my taco dinner with a cactus cooler, I'm all for it. As cactus cooler is the thinking man's Mountain Dew. Next, I want to add some speckling and freckling, so I tossed a bit of Brigadine Brown in my airbrush and cranked down the PSI until it was just spit and sputtering the paint. Using quick flicks of this all over gives a natural looking freckling. Unfortunately, this doesn't get picked up by the camera well, so you'll just have to trust me that it goes a long way towards making the mask look more lifelike. But if you look super close, you can see the freckling here. For the final step on this portion of the mask, it's time for our old friend, blood for the blood god. And just using a finger to roughly finger paint it around the horror slots is all it takes. As for the horns, they were super simple. Since the natural latex was already a nice bonish color, they only needed a heavy dose of sepia wash to settle in all the texture and seams to make it look great. And since these won't be flexing around, I didn't even bother with the latex. With that, I set it to dry and called it done. And oh boy, did this come out great. Unfortunately, because of my missing camera, I wasn't able to get my usual revolving shot before I had to send the mask over to him. These stills will have to do. When he wears it to his party, he promises to take pictures so I can share it with all of you. Hopefully this video has given you enough insight on how to paint latex masks so you can give it a go on your next costume. While latex masks aren't cheap, painting them yourself will save you quite a bit of cash compared to the pre-painted ones. If this video helped you out, it'd be awesome if you helped out the channel by liking and subscribing. Shout out to all my wonderful patrons and thank you for your continued support. That said, this was kind of an unplanned video for you all, so I gotta get cracking on the next official video. So as always, thank you for watching, stay creative, and always enjoy the process.